What if I tell you that you can connect ChatGPT directly to your database, APIs, or backend tools without plugins? That's exactly what MCP Server does. In this video, I'll explain what MCP is and we will build our first MCP server step by step. So before getting delay, let's get started. What is MCP? MCP stands for Model Context Protocol. It's an open protocol introduced by Anthropic that allows AI models like ChatGPT or Claude to talk to external tools, APIs, and files in structured ways. Think of MCP as a USB-C port for AI models. Just like USB-C lets you connect different devices, MCP lets LLM connects to different tools. Why do we need MCP? Before MCP, AI tools were mostly isolated. They couldn't securely access your internal APIs and business logic. With MCP, AI can call real APIs, read files, fetch database data, execute tools safely. What is an MCP server? An MCP server is a backend service that exposes tools, resources, and prompts. The AI acts as an MCP client and your backend becomes the MCP server. We have efficiently understood what is an MCP server. So let's get dive into building our first MCP server. Now we are going to build a simple MCP server using Node.js that exposes one tool, add numbers. In this, Claude will send numbers, our server will calculate the sum and return the results. This is the foundation of Agentic AI. The prerequisite for this project, you need to install Node and Claude Desktop on your system. Let's create a directory for our project. Let's get into our directory and now we'll install the all node packages. Model Context Protocol is a SDK needed for our MCP server. Now let's open this project in our code editor. So we are on VS Code and you can choose any code editor you want, maybe it's Cursor or anything. So before writing our code for MCP server, let's edit our package.json. Here under main we have to add a type module, otherwise it will give us an error. And the scripts, we will add a start script to start our node package, that node index.js. In index.js we just simply paste this code. Don't worry, you will get this code in the description box. I will add the link. First let's understand what we have built. First we import the core MCP server and transport. Claude Desktop communicates using stdio, not HTTP. So we use stdio server transport. Secondly, we have imported request schemas. These schemas define how Claude talks to our server. One to list available tools and another one to call specific tool. Third, we have created a MCP server. Here we have registered our MCP server and declared that it supports tools. In list tool, we are telling the Claude what tools we have already exist. When Claude connects, the first thing it asks for, what tools do we have? We respond with the tool called add numbers, along with the description, input schema and validation rules. This schema tells Claude exactly how to call our tool. In call tools, when the Claude decides to use the tool, it sends the call tool request. We extract the numbers, validate them and compute the sum. This is the real backend logic. In last things, we are returning the result to the Claude. MCP response must be structured. Claude reads this and shows it naturally in the chat. At last, this connects our server to the Claude using stdio. Once connected, Claude can start calling our tools. Now our server is ready. Let's start our server. So to integrate our MCP server into Claude Desktop, we need to copy the absolute path to the index.js. We have copied the absolute path to the index.js. Let's get into the Claude Desktop. So in Claude Desktop, in the settings and in the developer, we will find the option to edit a config. Now we will click on edit config. It will open a JSON. Here we will copy paste this schema and we will paste the path to our index.js. Now we will quit the Claude Desktop completely and reopen it. After reopening our Claude, here you can see that our local desktop MCP server is running. Let's go into the chat section, type our prompt, add these two numbers. So before executing the command, The Claude is actually asking us for the permission to perform the action. So after allowing this, it will give us the response. Now let's quickly summarize how all this works. First, we create a MCP server. This server acts as a bridge between the Claude and our backend code. When the Claude starts, it first asks the server, what tools do we have? Our server responds with the list of tools and their input schema. When the user asks a question like adding numbers, Claude decides to call the correct tool and sends a structured request. Our MCP server receives that request, executes real JavaScript logic, and sends the result back in the structured response. Claude then shows that result naturally in the chat. So Claude is not guessing, it's executing real code through the MCP. That's what makes AI truly agentic.